Carl Coulange for the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. I have my hockey guys here to discuss the NHL and moving forward in this new social distance era. Let me introduce my panel. We have Chuck, a.k.a. Pops. How you doing?
What's up, Carl? Pretty good.
doing,
How
man?
about you?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. We have Daniel Bryan. Michael Sparacino. I don't know what he's got going there. How you doing, bro?
That's caveman Michael Sparacino, Carl.
We have Andrew. Andrew, how you doing, man? How's it going, bro?
I'm doing good. Just relaxing in Brooklyn.
And we have Mike Phillips, Mr. St. Francis himself.
That's right. I'll take that.
Special shout out to you and your team for getting those high school students the signs. I saw that in NBC piece. Amazing. You guys did a great job. Shout out to Rob Olivo. You guys are doing amazing work trying to get the word out there. So as a St. Francis alum, I couldn't be any prouder of what you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. We're really trying to make that personal touch. We show it when we're at the college that we're a community. We want to show that even with the distance learning and the remote learning environment, that we can still be there to show them that we really care about them. And they're not just a name, but they're an actual identity, and they will be an identity at the school. And we're just trying to prove that by delivering those signs and making those smiles. And we actually had other individuals start handing them out now. So it's become like a big thing with St. Francis. A lot of directors are going out now and delivering them. So it's really good. It's really picked up some steam.
Listen, as I always say, St. Francis is in my blood. Without St. Francis, I don't know where I am today. So always special shout out to the Terriers. Let's go Terriers. With that said, we're here to talk about the NHL. Gentlemen, what do? We're in 2 months of quarantine now, and people believe that sports would be back at this point. The NBA really has no definite answer. MLB has no definite answer. We'd like to believe football will be back in September, but NHL is kind of the forgotten. People don't really talk about that. So here on the hit list, we talk about hockey. So what's going on? Who wants to start? Tell me what's going on.
I'll jump in.
Carl,
you want to jump in?
We talk about hockey.
We talk about hockey. That's fine.
We do it to us.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't talk about it. That's why I have you guys here. Yeah, you guys talk. I just asked the question. So, Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this new social distance era, and where does the NHL stand?
Well, I mean, there's been sort of conflicting reports. I mean, there's obviously been a ton of playoff scenario speculation, but there hasn't really been a set date on when anything is going to be returning or the next quote unquote phase in their plan is going to go into action. So I don't know. It's a little 50-50 on if we're even going to get the season back, in my opinion.
Mike, do you think they should even attempt to start the season, or should they just cancel it and hold off until 2021?
I think they should, postpone the season. I think too much time has gone by. I think that goes all around with every sport that was already in session. You come back, and how much time do you really put in before you go into a playoff scenario? And is it really fair for those teams that possibly were building that steam, and you're only giving them maybe 2 weeks and then jumping into a playoff scenario? I think you start back hopefully in October, November. Obviously it might be with no fans, as they're stating with a lot of the sports. But if you look at with hockey, they already have a lot of the protective gear ready, right? A lot of them are already wearing shields, a lot of them with their helmets. So I feel like with them, it might be possible to come back a little sooner, especially in these arenas with no fans. I feel like with the protective covering that they have, the only thing they're really going to have to work on is the benches, right? The benches, you're pretty much collateral damage at that point because you're gathered so close together on the bench. So they would have to figure out configurations there. But I think they can do it on the ice because of how open the ice is, especially during some of the play.
Okay, so let me ask Chuck this question. Following up what Mike said, he believes it can happen. What do you do in a situation? We know hockey sells on its fights. So now you have guys taking off gloves in this social distance era. And also in terms of COVID-19, can a guy take off his gloves now and go at it? Or is that going to be banned from fighting in hockey because of fearing someone may catch COVID-19 from catching the hands? Chuck?
Well, over the past couple of years, fighting in hockey has gone down, which I'm not too big of a fan of because I enjoy the fighting in hockey. I think it's terrific. It's good for the sport. It really engages the fans. But as Mike said, if they're going to wear full face shields, which some players do when they have, an injury to their face or something, how are you going to supposed to like punch somebody that has a shield on their face? So I think that kind of just ends fighting whatsoever if you're going to have that full face shield.
Andrew, do you agree or disagree with the panel in terms of moving forward with hockey for the rest of the for this 2020 season?
Well, they did suggest a 24-team playoff, which I'm all for because the NHL playoffs are very unpredictable. Last year, you had the Tampa Bay Lightning set a record for points and got swept in the first round by the 8th seed, basically. So to give like the teams that were like fighting for the playoff spot an opportunity to play into that glorious Stanley Cup playoff and maybe having like this once in a lifetime summer tournament, it's great. Same time, the NHL and the NBA are practically cousins. They share the same arena. They almost pretty much share the same fans. So I think the two leagues should work together, and like what they want to do with their players is up to the leagues. But at the same time, they should work together to see what they should do for the fans. Because again, like the Flyers and Sixers share the same arena, Knicks, Rangers, same thing.
Well, you don't have to mention the Knicks because even if the NBA comes back, there's no way that no one's gonna pay to see anything. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Like he opened the door. He opened the door. He opened the door. I just walked right in. He opened the door for me. He gave me like an alley hoop, right? And
you were not invited. You were not invited to the Knicks party. Do not walk in that door. Stop it.
I know Coach Womack's gonna kill me for it. But talking about contracts, now we see with the MLB, the hold with them is that the owners want a 50-50 split in terms of revenue. With hockey, is that the same thing too? The NBA, some of the players have already been being paid. I don't think that's an issue. But in hockey with salary, them coming back, is that a problem? Is that not a problem for them to work out with their players union?
I don't think it should be a problem because if you look at the NHL, the season was almost like finished. They only had maybe like another 3 weeks left, which is roughly like 10, 11 games. So it's not like they have such a big majority of games that where the players have to get paid. And I don't think they get paid for being in the playoffs. So you're only looking at a difference of like 10 games, which I'm sure the NHL and the NHLPA could definitely work out.
I think you also –
Go ahead,
I'm
Mike.
just going to say, I think you also need to look at it in the respect that they probably have already been being paid during this time. There's some type of stipend that they've been getting during the close of the season so far, or I guess you could say the hold of the season. So they are getting something. So I don't think it's really salary. That's the question. I think also what we have to keep in mind when we go back to whether or not they should start playing again is if those cities and arenas are going to allow it. Because we also have to keep in mind that like New York City, we're still in somewhat of a stay-at-home mentality. We have not reopened anything yet. Right. So with that being said, will the teams be able to practice with one another, and will they be able to be in their facilities? So that's another question that goes into play is how quick they can open up facilities and open up arenas. I know basketball tomorrow, I believe, is starting to open up, or soon is starting to open up the areas where they can practice. But still, that's nowhere near saying the season's going to start again. So if we're thinking about this, we're thinking about July. You also have to keep in mind, will the ice be good enough in the arenas? Even think about it. These sports are winter sports. You have this ice, and yes, the ice might be artificial and it's made at the arenas, but keeping it to a certain temperature is going to be questioned. And then you get slushy, you get injuries. So there's a lot of different things you think about. That's why hockey has never been a summer sport for the most part.
Yeah. Well, Mike, let me ask you this. I think someone posted it in the hit list group. You're talking about the NFL coming back in the fall. Possibly you have the NBA, you have the MLB, and now you have the NHL. Of the four major sports, especially in America, hockey would say is the fourth one. And that's no disrespect. That's just how, in terms of popularity, how can they compete in terms of coming back with football coming back? And keep in mind, this is going to be, people haven't had sports in 2 months. So is it even worth the hockey's time to even try to finish out the season knowing that they may not get the ratings that they would get on a normal, regular basis?
I don't see them not getting a rating. Personally, I don't see them not getting a rating. I think they're going to still get a rating because of the fact that they're still known in a lot of different areas, and they're on any given night, right? So maybe they might compete with basketball, which they already have. We already see by MSG Network, the Rangers get thrown to MSG2 or a different station when the Knicks are playing, even though the Rangers have a better record. But, you know, football is a Monday, Thursday, Sunday sport. So you won't really have to really make sure to compete with that. And I think everybody else on the panel could compare to this. I think if you have it on a given night, on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, we saw it with wrestling, we saw it with other sports, people are going to watch. If it's something to do and you're still home, they're still going to watch. So I don't think ratings are going to take that much of a hit.
Sparacino, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, and I just want to add on to something that Mike said earlier about certain cities not reopening. The NHL was talking about using hub cities, but then again, like I said earlier about the no plan was set in motion for days to go back, specifically to start playing. That has also just been talked about, and there hasn't really been any concrete evidence that they're actually going to go through with it. So,
in terms of host cities, Andrew, do you feel like that's the best approach in terms of, or do they just try to get back to their regular scheduled, regular cities?
With that, you got to play it day by day. I saw a report the other day that almost the entire country is like putting together plans to reopen. The only exceptions would be us because it's done by region. In New York City, like Philip said, was on lockdown. Illinois and Jersey have no plans to reopen. So if that continues, it's better to do the hub cities. And to add to how it could compete with the NFL, if and only if the NHL would push into September, and if the football is just starting, like it's like a big rah-rah, like all right, your team is back. But at the same time, like I don't know if it's just me, but I always go for like the sport that's like ready to conclude, like especially like in championships.
Does this affect 2020-2021 season? Now you're thinking about, all right, we have no set date yet. Everything is just we're anticipating and we're hoping it comes back. The later we push, the more it jeopardizes your 2020-2021 season. So how do you approach that? Do you just say, you know what, let's just take the loss and, you know, hope we start in November? Do you try to have hockey back in September, late August, September? Because Mike made a great point. Hockey's not a summer sport. But then when do you start the 2021 season? Because everything is like a domino effect. Chuck.
Well, to kind of go off everything, I think if you go with the hub city idea of playing, let's say, the playoffs in like one city using one arena and whatnot, I think that could move the season to a quicker end. So let's say you start in July, you could end by the end of August and kind of follow the game plan that was tweeted out by the NBA the other day, where they end the season late August, then they have their draft and everything, and then they start again like Christmas Day or something. So they could follow off that, and starting in like late December doesn't really move the schedule too much because it's only really like a 2-month difference. So then you could just move it a little bit, or you can even go to a shortened season like they did for I think it was the lockout in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, where they only played like 66 games. And that's completely fine by me. I think shorter seasons are better, especially for fans, because that means every game's impactful, and I'd rather see that than dragging out an 82-game season.
Sparacino, what are your thoughts in terms of jeopardizing the following season?
well, me personally, I would prefer a full 82-game season with a normal set of playoffs like there currently is. But I mean, the NHL is going to make their whatever decision they're going to make, so I don't really have a say, and my opinion doesn't really mean too much. So
it does here on the hit list. That's why I'm asking you your opinion. Duh.
I think there is a thing as starting too late with going back to these playoffs this year, because you got to realize the playoffs determine draft order for the latter 17 picks, even though I just got my math wrong. But you also have to worry about free agency. And then if, let's say this thing does go into September, do you really want the season ending, the draft, free agency, and training camp starting all to be within like a 3-week span? I think that would just be a complete cluster, 4-letter F word.
So final question here. Let me ask my panel. I asked this to my MLB experts. I asked this to my NBA. what's your prediction when the season starts, or do you just cancel? Let's start off with Andrew.
I think you ironically start mid-June when hockey would supposedly end, with maybe like a training camp, maybe like that play-in tournament. And you'd hope it would finish by like August, maybe first week of September. And then you still have October, November, and December off. And again, the NHL's no stranger to this. They had a whole season canceled. They had the 2013 season shortened. So hockey can adapt to this, and it can still be as competitive as it always is.
Okay, so you're saying June starts preseason and leads in and stops by September, right? That's your prediction.
Yeah.
All right,
June to get ready, and then July to start.
June to get ready, July to start. Chuck, what are your thoughts? Do you have a scheduled prediction, or do we just cancel the season?
Well, as of right now, the Players Association is voting on a proposal from the NHL about a 24-team playoff. So if that gets accepted, that's going to move things even quicker, which is good. I got to agree with Andrew. Start letting teams start practicing and whatnot mid-June. Start the playoffs as soon as you can in July, maybe right after 4th of July. End it late August. But I think the biggest problem that really nobody's talking about is that compared to the other sports, the NHL has a lot of Canadian teams. And now this might be where politics get involved, where the U.S. doesn't want Canadian players coming in without being tested and going into a quarantine for 14 days, or U.S. players playing in Canada and colder cities, like Mike said, keeping the arena cold and whatnot. So they might go to Canada, but if they're in Winnipeg, maybe Canada wants the U.S. players to be tested and in quarantine for 14 days. So I think that's going to be a big obstacle to face, but I hope they're back by mid-June.
Canada was the first country to start the vaccine when this season suspended.
That's a great point, though, Chuck. That's a great point. I didn't think about that. Sparacino, what are your thoughts? Should they just cancel the season, or do you agree with the gentleman in terms of the outlining of the schedule?
Well, here's the thing. I'm one of those people who I don't really form an opinion on these types of matters until the NHL actually, or the respective sports.
He's pleading the fifth. He's not answering my question.
But
remind me to commit a murder with you, because apparently
answer the question.
We don't really know what's going to happen.
If you had to make a prediction, man, make a prediction. You're either going to cancel the season,
yes,
or you're starting it in June.
Honestly, from where things are going, I think they're going to cancel.
Okay,
that's just my personal
fine.
opinion.
There you go. See, he did it. Mike Phillips, final prediction.
With Chuck brought up a great point, and something we didn't talk about was the fact you have a lot of European players that went home. Henrik Lundqvist, just for one, went home. So by the time they get back, if they're allowed back right now, they're going to have to go into quarantine. So that's going to delay everything even more. I think you're going to have to bite the bullet, because we were so far into the season. I think they're going to have to cancel the rest of this season and just start preparing for 2020, 2021 and see where they can go with there, and making sure that that's a full season. But unfortunately, I hate to say it, they're going to have to cancel the rest of the season.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on this special edition NHL Zoom of the Sports Hit List. My St. Francis brothers, I can't thank you enough for living the dream with me on the sports journey. We hope that sports comes back soon. It's been 2 months. Part of me misses it, but part of me really doesn't, because I believe this is bigger than sports right now. And when it does come back, I know everyone will be excited, whether they have fans in there, whether they don't. But if you guys had to pick which sport you want to see come back the most, what would you pick?
In terms of what? Sport?
Sport, yeah, sport. Who said football?
I would have to say hockey, because we were so close to the end, and there's no playoffs like the NHL playoffs. So
all right, so we got football with Mike. We got hockey, Chuck. Andrew, what you got?
Hockey for the playoffs, baseball for the ambiance.
All right, and Sparacino, I know you got hockey, right?
Yeah, my answer is the same exact answer as Charlie's. So.
He pleads the fifth. He pleads
the fifth. That's going to be his new nickname. It's going to be in the group. But again, guys, thank you so much.
I plead the fifth, Sparacino.
That's right. But again, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I hope everyone is staying safe during these times. This too shall pass. We'll get together soon enough. We'll have another reunion in Brooklyn like we did in January. And
We'll get together for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
let's do it. Why not? Right? Listen, you guys have to get together to take Carl to his first hockey game. I've never been to a hockey game. You guys have to.
But it's gotta,
I've only been, bringing.
it's got to be a Ranger game.
It has to be a Ranger game.
It will
Listen,
be an Islander Cup game in 3
listen,
months.
I'm going to tell you guys this right now. The Islanders are coming to my town. I'm from Elmont. I have to root with the Islanders.
And they
I
can
live
stay
walking
there.
distance. Say it again.
Carl, you used to
And
be
they
my
can
favorite.
stay there.
Listen, don't disrespect Elmont. I'll tell you right now, we will not be friends anymore, all right? Elmont is dear to my heart, too, just as much as St. Francis. I grew up there. I can walk there from my parents' house if I wanted to. It's right there, and I'm so excited it's coming to my town, so I got to go with the Islanders. I'm sorry. They're in Elmont. I'm with it. I pass by on the Cross Island all the time, and I see it coming. I can't wait.
All right, so it'll be a Rangers Islanders game in Long Island.
Let's do it. Guys, thank
I'll
you for
take
joining
that.
me. Please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to Sports Hit List by the fans, for the fans, all over social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, YouTube. Take care.